Hi, I'm going to show you how to make a Bass Shaker Amplifier using an old subwoofer. So if you don't know what a bass shaker is, you hook it up to your furniture. I'll show you one under my couch. I don't know if you can see it. That's a bass shaker, and it's mounted directly to the frame of the couch, and it's wired up to the amplifier in my stereo system. So here we have a subwoofer that I picked up at my local Savers, and I got it for 50 bucks. It's a perfect candidate for this kind of project because it's kind of scratched up. It's not in the greatest physical condition, but that's okay for what I need it for. And we're gonna cut this apart, but what I really like about it is it's got the controls I need. So it's got some extra frequency control. It goes into standby, and it's got the volume control and a bass boost, I believe that is. So this little control is screwed into the front here, and we're gonna reuse this. You'll see what we're gonna do here in a little while, but we're gonna cut this apart actually. And then the nice thing about it also is the Bass Shaker Amplifier. I haven't taken this apart, but hopefully this is all a self-contained unit, and it's got the power cord and the input that I need, and then a power button back here. So this will go into standby when it's not being used. Plus it's a Yamaha, so I don't know, hopefully that means I got some quality here, and this thing should pump out the power. I've got some banana plugs that I've had from a previous project, so we'll find a spot to mount those, and those will connect to the wire that goes to the bass shaker that's mounted underneath my couch. So we'll start taking this apart. We're going to pull this amplifier out and just see what's inside here. So all these screws, they've got an arrow by them that just tells me which ones are the ones to take out. I can see on this one they've got white arrows, and then there's some white open arrows. We're just going to take out the white solid arrows. I can pretty much tell that those are on the outside edges of the amp, so that's probably all that's holding this amplifier into the enclosure. Okay, so got the screws out. We're going to pop this out. Oh, that came out fairly easy. We'll see what we got here. See if there's any surprises. Oh, that looks like a fully enclosed amplifier, which is a good sign. Look at that. It's all enclosed. It's got the cables coming out of it. So they're going down here. We're going to unplug those so the two wires go into the speaker. I'm going to unplug those. I don't know if you could see that, but they just said push on lugs. And then there's the unit down there. That's the front control panel. So I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah, right down there, that's front control. We're gonna take that out. Looks like it's stapled in from the back. It's got the wires. Hopefully we get that apart, and there's a quick connector on there. We'll find out from the front. Okay, so I'm guessing those were metric, and sure enough they are. So we're going to take this front panel out. That's a wood screw or sheet metal screw, whichever, but it's got coarse thread for screwing right into the wood. We'll see what's behind this. Hopefully we're not in for any major surprises. So I've got all the screws out. Going to lift this out carefully. Okay, there's a PC board. Alright. Okay, so a PC board. See what we got going on. So we've got a connector right there. There we go. So that unplugged pretty easy. I've got my control panel out. That came out real nice. Okay, so there's my control panel, and then we're going to look at that opening there, and we're going to copy that when we put this back together. You'll see in a little while what we do there. So I'm just going to push that cable out through that hole. Okay, and then back to the other side. Get that amplifier back out. We should be free. And we're not quite yet. We've got a wire tie, or a twist wrap. There we go, there's the amplifier. This is really a nice design, so that'll go right to my speaker, my actually binding post or banana jacks. This goes back to my control panel. This is all self-contained, which is awesome. And that'll be, this will make life easy. This will be an easy conversion. We've got the amplifier. We're going to save all the screws and save the screws from mounting that front control panel. And then this opening, we're gonna try to make this work where we can use this opening and cut this down and use it as this is. So we'll see if that actually works or not, but we're gonna try. So looks like we've got some more Phillips screws on the back side, so we're gonna take this and take off this bottom plastic piece. Okay, we'll set that aside. Now we got the woofer to deal with. So you might think, I see that's kind of dented there, you might think this is a crying shame to take a nice Yamaha subwoofer apart, but we're going to make really good use of that nice amplifier. Reach in from the side, that just pops right out. So there we have our Yamaha 6 ohm 25 watt subwoofer. Alright, probably just end up throwing that back in a box for Savers or Goodwill, or throw it in the garbage, I don't know, but I don't have a use for it. There's the bottom pan, or plastic piece. QD Bass Technology says right there. And that'll go in the garbage. Or recyclables if possible. Okay. Now, what else do we got? A little more tearing apart to do. I see that we have a Yamaha emblem. Not sure if we'll make that work. And then we'll go from there. So we have a little figuring to do. This amp is, we're going to measure this. So it looks like it's about 4 inches deep. So if I put it back in the same opening right here, we're going to have to go down about 4 inches on all sides. So 4 inches, we'll measure that, and then I'm going to put some tape on there to protect that where I cut it. So just going to put some painter's tape on there, because we're going to be cutting this with a saw. Okay, and then to keep it from getting scratched up while I'm working, I'm just going to cover the whole works here. Okay, just protecting everything while we're working on, because those are surfaces I want to save. So we're going to mark this, and I've decided that I'm going to mount this amp back in the original opening. We're going to cut this off. We're going to remount that little control panel right in this area, and so we're going to reuse this portion of the cabinet. Okay, so I'm going to measure, and we'll do 4 inches. What we did right now is we measured 4 inches from the top, and we marked lines, drew lines all the way around this. So all the way around, and those are our cut lines. We're going to cut this with a table saw, and then we're going to come back, and before we do that, I'll knock these few things out of the inside here. I'll get that out, and then that little plastic cover back there that goes behind the control panel. And then when we get this all cut, then the amplifier will go back in the original opening. I've got the original opening from the little control panel, and we're going to copy that, because we're going to put that here, and then the binding posts will go on the back side, and then we'll start getting this put back together. Okay, so the air hole there, and then the black plastic piece on the back of that we've taken out. Here it is right here. I just set the screws all in there. I probably don't need to use this when we put this back together, because this was all sealed for a tight box for the subwoofer, and being there's no subwoofer in there, it's just the amplifier, we don't need to worry about sealing things up any longer. And that brings me to another point, in that when we get ready to put this back together and we're going to mount the amplifier back in here, I've got clearance to worry about, because this has to fit in here, and then this control panel is going on the front. So I just double checked that, and you can see here that when we put this back together, that's going to go in about that far, and this only goes in about that deep. Like I say, we're not going to use that other plastic piece which would have pushed us into it. I just didn't want to interfere with the amplifier in there. So looks like we're good to go. I've got everything out. We're all taped up, marked up. So next step is to cut, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we're getting the table saw set up here, and I just want to get this emblem off so I don't wreck it. I don't know if I'll reuse it, but come to find out, it's just on there with double-sided tape. So there, got that off, and maybe we'll use it, maybe we won't. So we ran the blade pretty deep there just because I wanted to get these couple last little pieces there. We'll let the blade down, so I'm going to go through and we'll get those. There we have it. Okay, so we've got the sawing done, and what we want to do now is we want to try to duplicate this hole pattern here, and you can see I've kind of got that marked out with pencil already, and we're going to just try to do this the same as that, because when we mount this on top, that control panel is going to go on this end. So I've got it all marked out. I'm going to start by drilling holes in the corners, and then I've got a saw to cut. So we'll try to get the rounded corners. I'm sure I won't do quite as good a job. That was probably done on a router. Okay, and then we'll worry about them 4 screw holes later when we get the new control panel put in there. Alright, got the long edges. I'm going to do a smaller blade for the ends. Kind of messy with that MDF, but actually that's wood on that end. Yeah, that was the old top. That's looks like pine or something. There we go. So we have the enclosure cut out, and we've cut the hole pattern, and I've taken a pen and I've marked the lines for the outline of the little control panel, and then we can take that control panel, we're going to slip that in place and set that down in there and try to get that squared up. Get that squared up with marks on there. And now I'll take a pen or pencil and I'm going to just draw a dot in each spot where the holes go. So now I've got these circles, and then we're going to take and punch those. So we'll punch those for when we drill. Okay, so now I've center punched the holes, and then we're ready to drill. And we're going to drill pilot holes for the screws. So one other thing I did for the back side here is we need a spot for the speaker jacks. And so I've got the red and the black jack, and they screw into a hole or mount in a through hole. And you can see that that's fairly short, so I can't really do that in this wood back piece. So what I've done, I've actually had some black plastic, and I've already cut this and kind of pre-marked it, but I'll show you what I did. I'm going to take this black plastic piece, and we're going to screw that to this back area here. And the tape on there, that's just where I marked it. So I'm going to put a couple holes and screw this black piece on there, and then we're going to put the red and the black jack, turn the other way around obviously, but we're gonna drill holes in that black, and then they're gonna mount in this back piece. And one of the nice thing about that, I guess, I didn't really plan for this, but this was where the old speaker was, so it'll kind of cover that up and clean that up. Okay, I just removed all the blue masking tape to reveal the box. So right now I'll put these in, and then this little tab that's on the terminal, that is a through hole and kind of a mount to attach the wire. So we're going to solder that onto the speaker wires from the amplifier. So we've got the speaker jacks. I'm going to just remove the nuts on these, the black one and the red one. And I'm going to mount these already in that black piece of plastic. So just going to poke that through there. We've got a, what is this, a 5/16 nut driver. And I'm just going to put a nut on the back. Actually, I think they'll take this washer off there, put that on the back. Doesn't really matter which one you put on the right or the left. And we'll tighten those down. Now they are plastic, going into the plastic panel, so I'm not going to try not to overly tighten them. Okay, so there we have the two terminals on the back. And I just made a little label quick. We'll call that Bass Shaker for the Bass Shaker connections. So, Bass Shaker, then we know where to hook that up. Okay, so we're going to clip these terminals off from the old amplifier, and then we'll strip that wire and we'll solder those onto the new terminals. I like to dip those in flux. That'll kind of clean that as the joint we solder those. And then I'll actually dip these in a little bit of flux too. Just the end where we're going to solder. Okay, we've got the ends soldered on the wires. We're going to slip some heat shrink over that. And we'll apply the heat shrink. And there we have it. So now we'll mount that back panel into the cabinet. Like so. Now we're ready to mount the amp. then I don't want to crack or over tighten anything, so I'm going to finish those off by hand. Okay, the amp is mounted in the cabinet, so we're getting real close here. We've just got to put the front little control panel on. We've got the rear terminals ready to go. Just have to mount the wires underneath. And there's what the bottom looks like. Now we're ready to mount the control panel, and we're going to work at this upside down. So remember, you need to kind of finagle this in there, so we're going to kind of start out and kind of twist that in there, kind of like so. Alright. Alright, that actually went in pretty decent, and we've got the holes pre-drilled for that. So we'll start these screws all by hand. These were Allen head screws, so we'll turn those in. And that's in. Now we just gotta hook the connector up. That's going to be a little bit of a trick, but the connector just goes right here, and I just need to get down in there. See the connector right there, so we're going to kind of have to finagle that in. So let me work on that for a minute, and we'll come back. So that does it for the bottom side. I've added some tie wraps to the wires, a little tie down to secure that. Got my nuts tight on the connections for the speaker jack right here, and then tidied up the wires, and connected the connector. It was a little bit of a bugger to get to, but we got it in there. Not too much room to spare between the front and the housing for that amplifier. So I think the bottom pretty much is done. I'll probably install a couple felt pads in the corners because this is going to sit on a shelf in my video audio cabinet. So we'll do that, and we'll just get things tidied up here. So you can see there that we're pretty much just underneath everything. Got everything pretty tight up in there. Nothing sticking out the bottom, and I'm not going to make any bottom panel or anything. You'll never see that, and that just leaves it accessible for any future work that needs to be done. So got that part pretty much finished. Here's what it looks like from the back side. There's the back panel all screwed on there with the 2 speaker terminals. Amplifier screwed into the housing, to the little cabinet here. Power on off switch. We've got phase, normal, and reverse, and then this one here, which is a little bit better than my last amp. I like this auto standby, so when it's not being used, it will actually go into a power standby mode. So I'm going to set that actually to high for right now. Not sure if that'll need to be on high or low, but we'll try it on high, see how that works. And then we're going to be going into the mono input, and then I bought a little right angle RCA jack, so that's going to go in here because I'm fairly tight in the top of my cabinet, the height above this, so we're gonna come in that way with my RCA cable from my bass output of my amplifier. Okay, and then the front view. This is why I really like this bass subwoofer from Yamaha. This was a Yamaha YST-SW015, and I really liked it because of this remote panel and the extra high cut and volume controls here, the bass and the standby. And this really mounted up nice in here. This is all kind of going to be hidden back in my cabinet, so really you'll be seeing the main controls here, and then the speaker connections on the back. So this looks like it's pretty much done. Like I say, I just got to put them felt pads on the bottom, and then this is ready to go. Thought I'd throw one last finishing touch on there. If you remember that Yamaha emblem that was on the old subwoofer, I peeled that off. It just had double-sided tape on it, so stuck that on the front here to give it just a little bit more touch to show that this really was a Yamaha subwoofer. And now it's my Yamaha Bass Shaker Amplifier, model YST-SW015.